Today's question is, how do Hokages get paid? Who gives them money for the services they do to the Leaf Village? And how much money does a Hokage make? Because we know how much money regular Shinobis make, and that's the thing, once you become Hokage, you kinda lose your source of income from being a regular ninja. Ninjas get paid by their missions. Usually, a contractor goes to the Leaf Village, or whatever other village you're talking about, they request a mission of a particular difficulty, and the Hokage and other counselors select specific ninjas that'll be good to fulfill that mission with the difficulty and the requirements in terms of jutsus and everything like that. If the shinobi is successful in the mission, they get paid. It's a straightforward system, and that's how the Leaf Village and the other villages pay for their expenses and how they finance themselves. And some of those missions can pay really damn well. We actually do have the information as to how much a specific mission is going to give to a ninja, and the price that somebody's going to pay you is going to vary depending on the difficulty of the mission. Let me tell you the values here, and bear in mind, the Naruto currency is called Ryo, and 10 Ryo is the equivalent of about $1 in universe. So D rank missions, the lowest rank, pay between 5,000 to 50,000 Ryo, which would be about $500 to $5,000. Those missions are only fulfilled by Genin, but still, $500, it doesn't strike me as too bad. I mean, imagine you are a 12-year-old Genin and you do 10 missions in a month, and you get $5,000 when you're 12. That's not bad at all. Moving on to C-rank missions, they pay between 30,000 to 100,000 Ryo, or approximately between $3,000 to $10,000. Now, these missions are fulfilled by Chunin and Genin, so imagine if you're a 12-year-old Genin who goes to a C-rank mission. That's exactly what happened in Land of Waves arc. Tazuna hired a C-rank mission, so Naruto got paid pretty damn well. Now yes, if you go on a team mission, which most missions are to be honest, you're gonna split the reward for that mission among your team, which is gonna dilute the profit you get from that mission, but still, it doesn't strike me as bad at all. Moving on to B-rank missions, and those are usually fulfilled by Chunin, they pay between 80,000 to 200,000 Ryo, or $8,000 to $20,000. When you go to A-rank missions, and these are usually done by Jonin or sometimes Chunin, I mean, the Land of Waves mission turns into an A-rank mission with 3 Genins in there, but that's because Tazuna lied about the difficulty of the mission. You know, he couldn't pay for an A-rank mission and higher level ninja, so he was like, yeah, no, this is an easy mission, guys. You're just gonna have to fight Zabuza for me, but it's whatever. And S-rank missions, which are only fulfilled by Jonin ninjas, pay 1,000,000 Ryo and beyond. So it could be literally anything, I guess, and that's around $100,000. And if you take a look at a few ninjas databook stats, they've fulfilled several missions. Jiraiya, I think, is the record holder for the amount of missions he's done. And with that number of missions in a ninja's career, you're gonna get a lot of money. But obviously, like anybody in this world, you have to pay for stuff, you have to buy your home, you have to do a lot of things, so you still have to keep on earning money. I mean, you can retire eventually, but most Hokages become Hokage when they're pretty young, so they certainly don't have that luxury of saying, yeah, no, I don't have to worry about money anymore. And that's a problem, because once you become Hokage, you don't get assigned these missions anymore. You have to assign the missions to other people and protect the village, and also do diplomatic things, talking to your advisors, going to summits and everything, but those things don't pay. There isn't anybody hiring you to do those things. You are the Hokage, it's your duty, it's what you have to do for your village. And yeah, you guess you could say that the Hokage doesn't want money, he wants to protect his village and do what's right for his people, and therefore he doesn't really care about how much he gets. But like, Hokage still has to live, and you need money to live, so he needs to get paid somehow. But how will the Hokage get paid if specific clients, like Tazuna, are not requesting missions from him and he's not going through those missions and getting the reward? Everything the Hokage does is in the service of the Leaf Village. Now, this might sound weird, but several ninjas do that even before they become Hokage, and obviously ninjas that never become Hokage do that a lot. Missions that are for the good of the Leaf Village, or I guess you could call them public missions. And yeah, I just came up with this term, but it's very easy to explain. A public mission is a ninja mission that doesn't have a private contractor. Somebody like Tazuna, or the fat lady who is hiring ninjas to recapture her cat. Those missions are requested by the Hokage to protect the Leaf Village, the Land of Fire, or do anything that's in the interest of the Leaf Village. So yeah, there is no private person putting money on that mission, but the ninjas still have to get paid, right? Like, yeah, obviously they have the will of fire, they want to protect protect their village, they want to do their best for their people, but they still need money, and those missions can vary. The Anbu, for example, does missions solely for the Leaf Village. They only do public missions that are assigned by the Hokage, so they can protect important people from the Leaf Village. They can do security and events like the Chunin exams. They can spy for the Leaf Village and many other things. Regular ninjas can also do public missions. If you're guarding a section of the wall in the Leaf Village, you are doing a public mission for the Leaf Village. If you're doing what Izumo and Kotetsu do and carrying papers for the Hokage, you are doing things for the Leaf Village, a public mission. Ibiki does public missions with the interrogation and everything he does there. Also, running the Chunin exams, being a proctor there, that's also a public mission. The guys watching the chakra barrier around the Leaf Village, they are always there to watch over and see if an invader is going to attack the village. Obviously, that's a public mission. The village itself is paying for the services. And interestingly enough, most missions Naruto Uzumaki, the main character of the series, goes through are public missions. Well, most missions that are on screen at least. The Land of Waves arc is obviously a private mission hired by Tazuna. Naruto also has a searching for the cat mission, which is privately hired by that fat lady. And Team 7 also goes through several private missions that we don't get to see. They're off screen because they're not major missions, they're very simple. And they usually happen between arcs, mainly between the Bell Test and the Land of Waves, and also the Land of Waves and the Chunin exams. But after the Chunin exams, Naruto doesn't really go through many other private missions. Well, at least not on screen. The search for Tsunade mission is definitely a public mission because they're looking for the Hokage for the Leaf Village. The Sasuke retrieval mission is also a public mission. Tsunade gives the team the order to recapture a rogue ninja from the Leaf Village, which is in the interest of the Leaf Village. There's nobody paying them to do that, an outside payer that is. Naruto's missions in Naruto Shippuden. The Kazekage rescue is a public mission. The Sand Village requested help from the Leaf Village, and therefore the Leaf Village is using its resources with their money to help out the Sand Village. I guess you could say this could be kinda weirdly put as a private mission, as the Leaf Village is hired by the Sand in a way, but because they are allied nations slash villages, that one's likely gonna fall under a public mission. It's like soldiers from an allied nation going to help that other nation. You're still a soldier from your nation that's being paid from a public fund. The Tenchi Bridge mission is definitely a public mission. They're going after Orochimaru and Sasuke, two rogue ninjas from the Leaf Village. Nobody's paying them to do so. The Akatsuki suppression arc, same thing, going after Kakuzu and Hidan, two menaces for the Land of Fire and the Leaf Village, and also the wide world, but nobody is paying them money to go after them. It's Tsunade giving them the order. The same thing goes for the Itachi Pursuit arc, and then in the Pain arc, they don't really have a mission, they just have to protect their village, which is the duty of a shinobi if their village is being invaded. And in the War arc, well, I guess they are paid to go to the war, right? That's the thing too, right? Because how do you even compute missions in a wartime? I guess if you are not in a chaotic war like the 4th Great Ninja War, you definitely can go mission by mission, like the Kanabi Bridge mission that Minato's team had back in the Kakashi Gaiden arc. They had to explode the Kanabi Bridge to interrupt supply lines of the Stone Village. That's definitely a mission. Yeah, you can compute that, okay, this is the mission you have, but when you're in the 4th Great Ninja War, in the middle of a battalion, what's your mission there? Yeah, win the war, do what your commander says. But how do you compute a mission success or a failure, and how do you compute payment? It's probably going to be done differently than just mission by mission there. And obviously the Hokage services are going to fall under public missions. So it's not just the Hokage who doesn't get money from clients here, but also several other ninjas. Maybe pretty much every single ninja is going to have a public mission here and there that no client is specifically hiring them and they have to get money directly from the Leaf Village. So how does that happen? Well, there are two possible explanations. Number 1, through taxes. You can never escape taxes, even in a fictional series. You see, ninjas are not the only people living in the Leaf Village, and shinobi missions are certainly not the only type of economic activity happening in the Leaf Village. There are several shops and commerces, the most famous one obviously being Ichiraku Ramen, and it's just safe to assume that they all pay taxes. Even the ninjas themselves may pay some sort of income tax, and with all the dozens if not hundreds of missions that ninjas in the Leaf Village go through every day, there would be a lot of money to give back to the village in form of taxes. And yeah, when it comes to public missions, even if you have to pay income taxes on those, the Leaf Village will not be producing money because the village will be paying them with money they've acquired from taxation, and they're gonna get a small cut back in form of taxes as well, so it's not a cycle that can sustain itself. But because there are clients that come from outside the Leaf Village and inject money into their economy, ninjas that receive money from private missions would certainly be able to provide a surplus of cash for the Leaf Village to be able to pay for its several public missions, the Hokage's job included. The other alternative is that they get funded by the feudal lord and the Land of Fire itself. That's possible, but it's much more likely the Land of Fire would fund missions that are more specifically to the Land of Fire as a whole and not simply to the Leaf Village. After all, the Leaf Village is almost a separate entity to the Land of Fire. They are like a city-state in the middle of a country that works together with that country and protects that country, but has a lot of autonomy. But I can certainly see a combination of both taxes the Leaf Village collects from its citizens, civilians and shinobi alike, and also some funding from the feudal lord and the Land of Fire. After all, it's certainly in the best interest of the Land of Fire that the Leaf Village is well funded and powerful, as the shinobi village serves to protect the nation they're in. But because they enjoy a pretty decent level of autonomy, the Hokage is pretty much a monarch of the village, they certainly have to fund themselves as well. Now, maybe you could say the Hokage specifically is funded by the feudal lord because the feudal lord plays a big role in choosing who's the next Hokage. And if you say no, the Hokage just doesn't get paid anything because the Hokages have done several missions before they even became Hokage, so they have a lot of money, that doesn't make much sense. As I said, many Hokages become Hokage very young. And when we take a look at other villages, Gaara became Kazekage at like 15. That's extremely young. He wouldn't have gotten that much money, even if he went through several difficult missions. But how much does the Hokage earn? Just like in that war scenario I described, it's difficult to separate what the Hokage does between missions, because the Hokage is doing several things: assigning missions, diplomacy, teaching the village things, going to the academy, overseeing if things are doing well, protecting the village when necessary. The Hokage has several jobs, so it would be kind of impossible for you to compartmentalize them into missions. Therefore, it's much more likely the Hokage just gets a salary. And how much would that salary be? Well, we don't have specifics on it, but we can make estimations. An S-rank mission, the most difficult type of mission a ninja can go through, pays at least 1,000,000 Ryo, or $100,000. Now, a shinobi mission could last anywhere from a couple of hours to several months, in theory. So you're not exactly paid by the hour when you're a ninja, you're paid by the mission. How would that translate to the Hokage? How would they calculate the salary of the Hokage? Well, I have to assume they would pay at least an S-rank mission worth of salary to them. That just seems a reasonable way to do it, because obviously the Hokage's job is extremely important, and the Hokage is always putting his life on the line, because if the Leaf Village gets invaded, the Hokage is going to be the first one to go act to protect it, and, you know, maybe die in the process. It has happened before, more than once, but realistically, it's likely the Hokage earned more than just the lowest possible earnings for an S-rank mission. If I were to make a more correct estimation, looking at salaries from very high-paying public jobs around the world, akin to a president or a judge from the Supreme Court, it's likely the Hokage would earn about 5,000,000 Ryo, or $500,000 a month. That's a lot of money for Tsunade to bet with, isn't it? And it's likely not gonna go too much beyond that. If a public servant like the Hokage earns way more than people from the village, that would create a climate of distrust. So I would say the salary of Hokage would range from 1,000,000 to 5,000,000 Ryo, which is $100,000 to $500,000. Which, as an yearly salary, that's amazing. I mean, $1.2 million to $6 million a year, that's great. And yeah, we see that pretty much every Hokage is pretty well off. Minato lived in a pretty nice home. Hashirama, Tobirama, and Hiruzen were from traditional clans, so they were already pretty rich. Tsunade as well, I guess, but she loses a lot of money betting. And Kakashi, we don't see a whole lot of him being Hokage, so we can't really say, but the guy did a lot of missions, so he probably already had a lot of money anyways. Naruto also has a pretty nice house when he becomes Hokage, but other than that, there are many ways for you to flaunt your money in the Naruto world, I guess, especially if you're a ninja. I mean, if you buy a house and you have everything you need, what are you gonna do as a shinobi with more money? I guess buy better weapons, but powerful ninjas like the Hokage don't even use weapons very much. One particularly high expense for a ninja is to enroll their kids in the academy. That actually costs a lot of money. So that's probably where they're spending most of their money on. Which is also an investment, because if your kid manages to become a pretty good ninja, they're gonna make way more money than you have to spend the academy. But yeah, that is probably how the Hokages get paid and probably how much they earn. Like the video if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and ring notifications. Those are really important and they make sure you always get the videos. It takes 5 seconds, so please do it. And also watch this video showing up on your screen right now for more cool Naruto content. Thank you so much for watching.